Marissa Liu stood on the polished marble floor of the Galactic Alliance's Central Council Hall, forcing a gracious smile as she surveyed the Grand Chamber. Strange how the seemingly endless tiers of seats, each filled with representatives from dozens of alien species, could feel so oppressive. She was Earth's ambassador, and she was no stranger to the routine theatrics performed here. She had learned the art of remaining outwardly demure while quietly reading the undercurrents beneath every conversation. This place was a triumph of appearances and illusions, designed to project the Alliance's supposed magnanimity. But Marissa knew, as did certain others in the shadows, that the reality was more sinister. The Council believed it kept humanity in check, believing that Earth was indebted and naive, just another junior species who had stumbled into spaceflight and needed constant supervision. She nodded politely at the High Council members, careful to convey humility as she prepared to deliver her formal greeting. The High Council itself, made up of senior figures from the most prominent Alliance races, sat at a raised dais that dominated the front of the chamber. All eyes focused on her the moment she stepped up to the circular podium in the center. High Counselor Vindar, whose elongated face and golden, horn-like protrusions exemplified the regal bearing of his species, offered a benevolent nod. He smiled in that faint, condescending way that always raised Marissa's hackles. Today, after all, was a special session aimed at discussing the next wave of safety protocols for humanity's outlying colonies. Honorable representatives, Marissa began, inclining her head slightly. On behalf of Earth, I extend our gratitude for the ongoing guidance the Galactic Alliance provides us. Our people have learned much from the wisdom shared by every species here. We appreciate this opportunity to be heard. Her voice did not waver. She had given speeches like this dozens of times. Standing behind her, flanking her with stalwart expressions, were two aides who had traveled all the way from Earth. She did not introduce them. Formality dictated that only the appointed ambassador spoke before the council. Behind the dais, Vindar's features appeared perfectly poised. He waited a moment for the hush to fully settle, then inclined his head graciously. The Galactic Alliance is always pleased to assist an emerging civilization in finding its rightful place among the stars. Today, we must address concerns regarding the safety standards at your research facilities and your expansion attempts, particularly in the outer rims of Alliance territory. He paused, as if expecting Marissa to nod along obediently. She inclined her head again, carefully managing her expression. We, of course, welcome any oversight, she said. At the newly established outpost on Helios Station, we have complied fully with the Alliance's guidelines. We believe any further checks will only improve our efforts. Vindar signaled for Undersecretary Uras, a short, beetle-like being from one of the founding species. Uras made a show of consulting a data tablet. We have records of repeated minor infractions, some incomplete environmental compliance documents, and certain uses of technology that the Alliance has not reviewed. It's all rather concerning. His voice clicked and whistled in his species' characteristic manner, though he spoke standard with practiced ease. We'd like to send an official team to Helios Station and surrounding human colonies to ensure all protocols are met. It is, of course, for your own safety. Marissa kept the same well-practiced smile. We welcome any assistance and additional expertise, especially in environmental engineering. We're always grateful. Deep inside, she recognized this was yet another tactic to limit Earth's independence. The Alliance had done this time and time again, demand new layers of regulation, new bureaucratic hurdles, and new ways to siphon data. Let them. Her job was to project confidence and compliance, so the Council would keep underestimating humanity. By the time the session adjourned, she had spoken for less than 15 minutes. That was all they allowed her, but it was enough. On the surface, everything looked cordial. The Council prided itself on being the beacons of enlightenment for the galaxy, and it was crucial to maintain the illusion that Earth was meek and grateful. Stepping away from the podium, Marissa glanced up at the upper tiers of the chamber, where less influential ambassadors and observers took their seats. Among them, she noticed Zerkel, the Alliance observer from the right species. Zyrkel's wide, obsidian-black eyes followed her with a hint of curiosity. He didn't sneer like some. He simply watched. He had done that for months, always perched quietly, listening, apparently neutral. She wondered sometimes how much he suspected. Outside the chamber, an aide escorted Marissa to an ornate hallway that branched off toward the embassy wing. Before she could return to her official suite, a staffer from the council approached, bowing in the way that polite Alliance custom dictated. "Ambassador Liu, High Counselor Vindar requests a brief audience," the staffer said. She forced a genial nod. "Of course. Lead the way." Vindar awaited her in a smaller, though still elaborately decorated conference room. Soft lights glowed from luminescent wall panels. He stood by a large viewport, his gold-hued protrusions catching the glow, making him appear almost saintly in silhouette. As she entered, he turned and offered another stately smile. "Ambassador Liu, I appreciate your time. I wanted to personally reassure you that these additional inspections are for the benefit of your people. Recent accidents have been troubling." Marissa inhaled slowly, recalling how the last accident claimed dozens of human lives at a remote research site near Kasara. All official data pinned it on human error. Yet certain private analyses she'd read indicated sabotage by advanced technology matching the signature of an Alliance species. "We are deeply saddened by what happened," she replied. "Our investigators are still working to prevent such mishaps from recurring." Vindar nodded solemnly. "That is precisely why we must remain vigilant." His tone was paternal. "I trust we can cooperate fully." She kept her face impassive. "We will." "Thank you, High Counselor." Shortly afterward, she was dismissed. She returned to the human embassy sector, a comparatively modest area that the Alliance had allocated to humanity's diplomats. Despite its modest appearance, the interior was reinforced with advanced materials. The Alliance believed humans simply liked to look humble. It never occurred to them that the prefab, design, and unassuming decor hid cutting-edge defenses, encrypted communications, and subtle scanning devices carefully shielded from detection. Marissa moved through the main corridor, exchanging polite greetings with other staffers, until she entered a secure briefing room where General Grant Holloway and two intelligence officers waited. Holloway was a broad-shouldered man whose every movement spoke of discipline. He wore an Earth uniform with few decorations, but Marissa knew his record. He had seen more direct conflict and covert operations than most living humans. He had the grave calm of someone who had survived more than a few nightmares. "Well?" Holloway asked, as soon as the doors sealed shut behind her. "Inspections," Marissa said. "Vindar claims it's for our safety, but it's one more layer of control. They suspect something, or at least they want to ensure we stay under their thumb." Holloway nodded, his expression grim. "Word came in from the Helios outpost. The Alliance is sending a small fleet in 2 weeks. They want a full technical audit." A quiet tension suffused the room. Marissa glanced at the intelligence officers. One of them, a woman with short-cropped hair, tapped a device on the table. A holographic map of the Helios region sprang up, with various symbols denoting known Alliance traffic. "Our people have prepared carefully. We'll appear to comply fully. They'll see only what we want them to see." Holloway leaned forward, resting both hands on the table. "But if they dig deeper?" "That's not likely," the officer replied. "We've set up decoys, intentionally subpar equipment. The actual research is safely off-site." Marissa knew better than to relax. She had already seen what lengths the Alliance could go to. "Double-check everything," she said. "We can't afford a mistake. Right now, they're confident we're under their control. We need to keep it that way until we choose otherwise." Her gaze shifted to Holloway. "What's the status of Cerberus' fleet?" Holloway's features tightened imperceptibly, though satisfaction glinted in his eyes. "On schedule. The new stealth systems are working as designed. We've had no leaks." He tapped a control on the table, and the holographic map changed, showing not just Helios, but a much broader swath of space around Earth and deeper into Alliance territory. Tiny green icons flickered, representing ships hidden behind advanced cloaking technology. If the Alliance tries any further sabotage, we'll be ready to respond. Marissa exhaled. We'll stay the course. For now, we play the obedient junior member. Keep the illusions intact. Days passed in a blur of official receptions and tedious committee meetings. The Alliance demanded updates on every Earth colony, from environmental compliance to how many new settlers had arrived. They insisted that they only wanted to help. To outward appearances, Earth's delegation complied at every turn. Behind the scenes, data poured in from quantum communication devices that the Alliance still did not realize humans possessed. Most species in the Alliance used standard FTL comms, believing quantum entanglement was too finicky and impossible to scale beyond a few experiments. Humans had quietly solved that puzzle decades ago, ensuring that all official transmissions were standard, while the real intelligence traveled on hidden channels. Reports revealed concerning details about a sabotage on Kasara that killed many Earth engineers. The infiltration was traced back to a race allied closely with Vindar. The sabotage had involved advanced nanotech humans were supposedly too primitive to detect. Even so, our scientists have found it. The more Marissa read, the more she burned with anger. Yet anger alone was not enough. Humanity couldn't risk open confrontation. Not yet. At night, in the quiet confines of her private quarters, she mulled over each new piece of evidence. How much longer could they pretend to be weak? Each act of sabotage demanded a response. But the timing had to be precise. Earth had not spent decades playing along with the Alliance's condescension only to squander the advantage before they were truly ready. Another week went by. Helios Station prepared for the Alliance's inspection, orchestrated under the guidance of an Earth-based engineering team that specialized in illusions. This was not about forging illusions of grandeur. It was about forging illusions of mediocrity. In carefully selected areas, they installed low-grade tech, prototypes that fizzled out or failed to meet the baseline standards. Alliance inspectors would see and believe that Earth still struggled with the fundamentals of interplanetary systems. Meanwhile, the real breakthroughs remained off the books, hidden in deeply shielded compartments or remote labs far from Helios. As the day of the inspection arrived, Marissa took a shuttle from the Central Alliance station to Helios. She was joined by Zaire Kale, who had politely asked for a seat on her shuttle under the pretense of wanting to observe human hosting practices up close. She suspected he might be quietly investigating. She offered no objections. The more Zaire Kale saw of Helios, the more convinced he would be that Earth was precisely what the Alliance believed. Their shuttle descended onto the landing platform. Helios was a harsh environment, with a thin atmosphere that forced workers to wear breathing apparatuses when venturing outside pressurized areas. From a viewport, the complex looked somewhat shabby and piecemeal. Giant scaffolds surrounded half-finished domes, supply crates littered the dusty ground, and a faint haze of swirling particulate in the wind gave the entire outpost a desolate feel. Marissa's personal earpiece crackled with a secure signal as they landed, a reminder that illusions were as deliberate as any battle plan. She forced a mildly embarrassed smile when Zaire Kale commented that the scaffolding appeared dangerously flimsy. "We're doing our best," she said. "Human engineering must still adapt to these environments." The moment the hatch opened, a man in a worn uniform approached with a hasty salute. This was Lieutenant Ramirez, the outpost's lead coordinator. "Ambassador Liu, Observer Zaire Kale, welcome. We have accommodations prepared inside. Please follow me." As they walked, dust swirled around their ankles, and Zaire Kale's wide eyes blinked repeatedly. His species inhaled oxygen in a manner not too dissimilar from humans, but the dryness seemed to affect him, and he coughed softly. "Helios is quite inhospitable," he noted. Marissa nodded sympathetically. "We intend to learn from the Alliance's experts in environmental domes. We appreciate their guidance." They reached the main dome, whose interior corridors looked unexceptional. Walls displayed typical readouts, but all carefully curated. An official delegation from the Alliance was already inside, led by a silver-skinned creature named Various. The inspectors wasted no time beginning their audit, pointing scanners at the walls, checking the occupant logs, remarking how certain construction materials were outdated, how certain redundancy systems were incomplete. Zyrkel lingered behind. Marissa noticed how he sometimes let the official inspectors charge ahead while he examined side passages or open crates. She pretended not to see his curiosity. Let him discover the outdated gear and assume that was the real extent of Earth's progress. Eventually, they reached an engineering workshop that was full of half-disassembled climate filters. The official Alliance inspection team rummaged around, making notes and occasionally sighing with exasperation at the primitive Earth construction. During a lull, Zyrkel approached Marissa. "Ambassador," he said softly, "I noticed that the filters are lacking some basic harmonic buffering. Hasn't the Alliance provided the relevant schematics to avoid these mistakes?" She put on an apologetic expression. "We did receive them, but our production lines are still behind. Most of our resources go toward essential life support on outposts like this. We've struggled to keep up." The sincerity in her voice would have earned an award. Zyrkel studied her face for a moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied. He still seemed troubled, but he said nothing further. People like Zyrkel wanted to believe Earth was incompetent, yet he recognized some contradictions. Perhaps he wondered how humans who built warp-capable vessels could bungle harmonic buffering. Perhaps he blamed it on patchwork approaches or limited training. Regardless, illusions would stand so long as no direct proof contradicted them. In the days after the inspection, the Alliance gave their official verdict. The humans needed significant improvement in multiple areas, so further checks were recommended. High Counselor Vindar announced these results with great solemnity, painting Earth as a group of eager but overwhelmed upstarts. The official statement included a note about accidents that might occur if the Alliance did not intervene. It read like a thinly veiled hint: comply or face more tragedies. The next tragedy occurred sooner than expected, and it was far worse. A settlement on the planet Kasara went completely dark. The colony had only been established for 2 years, primarily for resource extraction. Nobody answered calls or emergency signals. By the time a human relief ship arrived, nearly everyone was dead, nearly 500 souls. Malfunctioning life support systems had flooded their living quarters with toxic gas. The official cause, once again, was a so-called faulty design. When Marissa heard the news, she was in her office on the Alliance station. Her breath caught in her throat, and she had to steady herself against the desk. This was it. This was the line. She felt her heart pounding as she read the initial analysis. Sabotage. Once again, traces of advanced nanotech. The signature matched that of a species under Vindar's direct influence. It was an act designed to cull humans, remind them of their place, or break their morale. Marissa's first impulse was to storm into the council chamber and confront Vindar. Instead, she closed her eyes, forced calm. "They've pushed too far," she muttered. She typed a short, encoded message. Then she hurried to meet General Holloway in the secure briefing room. He stood at the table, fists clenched, eyes dark with fury. "I saw the reports," he said quietly. "This isn't an accident. It's cold-blooded murder." She nodded. "We have all the proof we need. We have traced the sabotage technique. Our people made progress analyzing the alien nanotech from the previous incidents, and this time we matched it exactly." Holloway turned away, taking in a slow breath. "We can't pretend anymore," he said. "It's time to escalate." Marissa said, "What does Earth Command say?" His lip curled slightly. "Earth Command says we play along, and we wait to initiate Operation Cerberus until we've gathered enough evidence to justify a full confrontation. But I've just sent them the updates about the Kasara colony. If that doesn't push us to Phase 2, nothing will." He was right. Within hours, a final order arrived from Earth. Proceed to Phase 2. All the illusions, the subterfuge, the pretenses would remain outwardly intact. But from that moment on, humanity would no longer merely hide. Humanity would start maneuvering assets into place, preparing the entire galaxy for a reckoning. On the surface, Earth's official stance was heartbreak. The ambassador's office issued a statement expressing grief, extolling the Alliance's wisdom in offering help. Indeed, the Pax Tech Collective, one of the Alliance's leading engineering groups, publicly offered to assist in diagnosing the supposed equipment failures. No one outside a handful of human officials realized that the Pax Tech Collective had developed the exact sabotage technique that took those innocent lives. The collective was, in a twisted mockery of compassion, volunteering to help fix a problem it had created. Behind closed doors, Earth readied the next steps. The Helios inspection had proven that illusions worked. The Alliance still presumed humans had no advanced stealth technology. But the Cerberus fleet was nearly in position. They would not strike unless forced. The notion of all-out war was abhorrent, and humanity still harbored hope that some arrangement could be achieved to coexist peacefully. But at least now, they refused to sit idle while their colonists were murdered. Marissa worked tirelessly, forging the official communications that played nicely to Alliance expectations. She hated every word of it, the false humility that contradicted her private rage. But the key was to lull the Alliance into believing that Earth was too weak and frightened to retaliate. Let them think it was business as usual. A hush fell over the embassy in the early morning hours, according to Earth's standard clock. Marissa sat in the command center with Holloway, watching real-time intelligence feeds from quantum-linked sensors. The data revealed Alliance ship movements, evidence of infiltration attempts on multiple colonies, and the readiness of Earth's clandestine warships. Each warship was hidden behind a combination of advanced cloaking fields and carefully orchestrated flight paths that use cosmic phenomena for cover. The knowledge of these forces gave her a grim sense of resolve. She stared at one feed in particular, a secure image of the main Alliance station's docking bay. Alien vessels of every shape and size came and went, unaware that a single cloaked human frigate drifted in the neighboring sector, its sensors locked on the station. If the Alliance discovered that frigate, they would realize that everything they believed about humanity's capabilities was false. Turning to Holloway, she said, "If the Alliance attempts another sabotage like Kasara, we can't hold back. We need to show them that Earth won't accept this anymore." He gave a firm nod. "We'll respond decisively, but only on our terms." It was not long before the Council reconvened to discuss Earth's continuing expansion requests. The sudden tragedy on Kasara was brushed aside as an unfortunate accident. Vindar presided over the meeting with calm detachment. In front of the entire assembly, Marissa once again stood at the central podium, delivering an official statement of sympathy for the Kasara victims. She carefully used language that implied Earth was still uncertain about the cause, further stroking the Council's sense of superiority. "I must also inquire," she said, "about the possibility of expanding our efforts to new planetary systems. The Helios outpost, while incomplete, is functioning, and Earth remains eager to settle additional worlds within the Alliance's guidelines." Several delegates shifted in their seats, stifling laughter. Vindar, adopting an indulgent tone, responded, "Ambassador, we appreciate your drive, but as we have consistently found, your resources may be overextended. We see repeated tragedies. The Alliance must prioritize safety." Marissa locked eyes with him. She bowed her head slightly. "We understand. We value your guidance. We will of course refrain from any further settlement attempts without Council approval." Murmurs of approval rose from many corners of the chamber. To them, this was the normal state of affairs. Humanity humbly requesting permission, the Alliance paternalistically refusing. Another day, another example of humans subdued. Observing from the upper tier was Zyrkel again, silent, watchful. Marissa almost wondered what he thought of all this. Did he buy the charade? Did he suspect something else? She finished with a final plea. "We only ask that, in light of what happened on Kasura, the Alliance might dispatch experts to help us update our colony systems and protect us from future disasters." The wry twist beneath her measured tone was lost on most. But a faint twitch of Vinder's mouth told her he was reading between the lines. Was he proud or suspicious? It was impossible to say. Leaving the chamber, she felt a chill run down her spine. Holloway was waiting for her in the corridor, scanning the crowd with an alert gaze. When they reached a secure hallway, he said, "We've received new data from our infiltration teams. They've confirmed that Vindar personally authorized the sabotage on Kasara. The next target may be Helios. They want to break us thoroughly." Marissa's face went grim. "Then we won't wait. We call the next phase. Time to show them that we know exactly what they've been doing, and we're done playing nice." That evening, an encoded transmission was sent from the human embassy to Earth Command. It included a compilation of every act of sabotage, every covert alliance directive to hamper Earth's growth, every piece of proof gleaned from advanced forensics. Phase 2 was complete. Humanity had all the leverage they needed. Earth Command's response was immediate. Phase 3 readiness. At the next council session, the humans arrived not as supplicants but as judges. In the Great Hall, with every representative present, Marissa politely requested the floor. She was accompanied by Holloway and a handful of other high-ranking Earth officials, each bearing an unusual air of confidence that few had seen from humans before. The crowd quieted, sensing a shift. Vindar glowered from his dais. Marissa stepped forward and announced, in a voice that echoed through the chamber, "I have brought new evidence regarding the so-called accidents that have plagued our colonies. Evidence implicating certain members of this council in direct sabotage." A stunned silence fell. She gestured, and the overhead holo displays flickered. Technical readouts appeared, showing sabotage patterns, molecular-level modifications, all bearing signatures traceable to advanced alliance labs. These incidents include Kasura, Helios sabotage attempts, and others. The sabotage is real. The evidence is conclusive. Vindar's expression darkened. He sputtered something about baseless accusations. But Marissa continued, "We also have communications logs, internal memos from your secret committees. The Alliance has systematically strangled Earth's growth, committing atrocities to keep us weak and dependent. Well, that ends now." Her words rang out like a judge delivering a sentence. The council erupted into chaos. Dozens of alien representatives demanded an explanation. Some turned on each other, while others raged that humans had no right to accuse them of anything. But the real show came next. Holloway took a calm step forward and activated another set of holo images. This time, the entire galaxy was displayed, with multiple star systems highlighted in green, red, or neutral. Over major Alliance worlds, faint outlines of starships glimmered. "Meet the Cerberus fleet," Holloway said, voice resonant. "For decades, we have hidden our true capabilities. You believed we could barely maintain second-rate star cruisers. You believed you sabotaged us into helplessness. You believed we were too afraid to act. That was your mistake." He tapped a control, and the holo zoomed in on a ring of cloaked warships in orbit around key Alliance strongholds. From the vantage of real-time intelligence, it was clear the ships were powerful, advanced in ways that left no doubt the Alliance had grossly underestimated Earth. Gasps, screams, and frantic outbursts filled the chamber. Many recognized the strategic brilliance. Humans had placed cloaked vessels at every critical juncture. Pandemonium threatened to consume the assembly. Vindar tried to regain order, bellowing that the council must stand united. But Marissa's voice sliced through the noise. "Understand that we do not desire war. What we want is equality. We want an immediate cessation of sabotage, justice for those murdered on Kasara and other colonies, and recognition of our right to expand without your interference." A hush settled, broken only by scattered mutterings. High Counselor Vindar pointed a trembling finger at the display. "This is an act of aggression. You cannot dictate terms to the Galactic Alliance." She let that accusation hang for a moment, then replied, "We are not dictating. We are ensuring that your atrocities against our people end. We are giving you a choice. Accept us as equals, or face the consequences of your continued violence." Vindar opened his mouth to retort, but a wave of alarmed chatter from the council's seats drowned him out. Many ambassadors were in disarray, uncertain if they should condemn Earth or condemn the sabotage they had just learned about. Some broke ranks immediately, disavowing knowledge of any conspiracy. All the while, Zyrkel stared in silent shock. Only now did he grasp how thoroughly humanity had outmaneuvered them. The illusions, the carefully curated incompetence, it was all a ruse. He remembered each detail from Helios, how everything seemed too conveniently subpar. Suddenly, it all made horrifying sense. We have reams of evidence that certain factions of this alliance orchestrated multiple acts of sabotage. Marissa continued, raising her voice over the tumult. If you claim ignorance, then you must be willing to turn over those responsible to an impartial tribunal. If you refuse, we will assume you stand by the sabotage. Her posture was unyielding. Holloway's presence behind her radiated unwavering resolve. The council had never seen humans this way. Calm, collected, but carrying the implicit threat of unstoppable force. It was reminiscent of a predator's silent stare on Earth's ancient plains, a stare that asked if the other side really wanted to push its luck. Vinder's face twisted with fury, but even he sensed the precariousness of the situation. Many of his colleagues were glaring at him, suspecting his involvement. Some demanded his resignation. He banged his staff against the floor, calling for order, yet order did not come. One of the oldest members of the council, an elder from a peaceful species that abhorred conflict, finally croaked, "What do the humans truly want?" Marissa's tone softened just a fraction. "We want to live and to expand as any species would. We want the Alliance to honor its founding principles of cooperation. We want no more sabotage, no more force containment. We will not be your pawns. We have never been your pawns. We endured your restrictions to learn how you operate, to see if peaceful coexistence was truly possible." A slow murmur of stunned realization spread throughout the assembly. The scale of Earth's subterfuge was staggering. They had studied the Alliance from within, gleaning every tactic, every hidden corridor of power. And now they had revealed themselves. Vindar tried one more time to seize the narrative. "You speak of justice," he said, "but your warships threaten our worlds even now. This is not justice, it's blackmail." Holloway spoke, his voice heavy, with anger. "We do not threaten your worlds arbitrarily. Those ships are a safeguard against any further atrocities. We have no intention of random conquest. But if we detect another Kasara, if we detect a single sabotage or attempted genocide, we will respond decisively." Silence followed. At that moment, Zyrkel stood up in the observer gallery. His right eyes flicked to Vindar, then to Marissa. After a pause, he said, "I have seen evidence that humans have also hidden advanced manufacturing capabilities. Yet I have likewise seen signs that sabotage was real. I cannot deny the consistency of a human's proof. The sabotage was no coincidence." A wave of gasps. Zyrkel continued, struggling for composure. "I don't condone the threat of force from either side, but the Alliance must confront its wrongdoing. We cannot claim to be the pinnacle of enlightenment if we orchestrate sabotage and murder." Those words, coming from an acknowledged neutral observer, tipped the balance. The council broke into urgent discussion. Representatives from species not directly linked to Vindar demanded an inquiry. Others insisted on immediate negotiations. Vindar, face contorted by a mix of fury and panic, could see his support evaporating. Marissa let them argue for several minutes. Then she tapped the control, calling attention back to her. "We won't wait long. The families of those killed on Kasara deserve justice. For too long, you believed we were helpless. That's over. You thought we were dangerous when we were playing nice? Now see us become true Deathworlders." She stepped back from the podium, turning her gaze across the sea of alien faces. Everyone heard the warning in her voice. The council session dissolved into chaos as the human delegation walked out, accompanied by a phalanx of silent Earth guards. The time for illusions had ended. It took nearly 40 hours of continuous emergency meetings before the Alliance emerged with a plan. Their membership was deeply fractured. Some, outraged by revelations of sabotage, sought a peaceful reconciliation immediately. Others feared a violent backlash from Earth if they did not capitulate. A few hawkish species demanded war, insisting that no inferior race should dictate terms. But the Hawks found themselves outnumbered when faced with the undeniable proof of Alliance wrongdoing and the frightening possibility that Earth possessed a lethal advantage. When the Alliance Council convened again, they extended formal invitations to humanity to rejoin them in the main chamber. A new vote was called, presided over by a different official. Vindar had quietly stepped down under intense pressure. From the dais, a new leader announced that the Alliance would cooperate with an investigative tribunal. They acknowledged the evidence of sabotage, pledged to hold those responsible accountable, and recognized Earth's right to expand. Marissa and Holloway stood in front of the dais, watching the final tally. The resolution passed with a near-unanimous margin. Perhaps those who remained suspicious or resentful of humans realized that refusing to pass it might provoke a confrontation they could not win. The illusions and manipulations ended in a swift stroke. Earth would no longer hide. Humanity would have a seat on the council equal to any other major species. Zyrkel, sitting near the observer's seats, caught Marissa's eye. He nodded once, perhaps in relief that the galaxy had chosen negotiation over bloodshed. She inclined her head to him in acknowledgement. She had no delusions that all was forgiven or forgotten. Treachery could resurface. But for now, the Alliance had accepted the inevitable. Humans were no longer pawns. Over the following weeks, as the Alliance rearranged its power structures, Earth's delegation became integral to new committees on fair resource allocation, ethical technology usage, and mutual defense. Investigations into Kasara and other acts of sabotage proceeded. Some culprits were arrested. Others fled. Vindar remained in custody pending a tribunal that would include human judges, an unprecedented arrangement in Alliance history. An enormous wave of transformation rippled across the membership worlds. The old guard could barely come to terms with the notion that the primitive Earthlings had outmaneuvered them so thoroughly. Some species, ironically, began to court Earth's favor, seeking trade deals or joint projects. Others simply tried to avoid being implicated in sabotage plots. Meanwhile, Earth carefully dismantled parts of the Cerberus fleet's cloak, revealing ships stationed alongside Alliance vessels in cooperative patrols. It was as if humanity was saying, "We stand by you if you stand by us. If you turn on us, remember what we can do." A special ceremony marked the official recognition of humanity as a full member with senior privileges. Representatives from dozens of worlds attended in person, albeit with caution. Marissa, standing on the ceremonial stage, delivered a speech more genuine than any she had ever given in the council halls. She spoke of the colonists who died, the families left grieving, and the betrayal that stung deeply. She also spoke of the hopes that Earth still cherished, forging real friendships, protecting each other from the many cosmic threats beyond the Alliance's known territory. She ended with a subtle but unmistakable reminder. We come from a death world, and we learn to endure everything from savage predators to violent storms, lethal microbes to global wars. Yet, as harsh as Earth could be, it also taught us empathy, courage, and cooperation. Let it be known that our patience should never again be mistaken for weakness, and our desire for peace must never be misread as cowardice. We choose cooperation not out of fear, but out of conscience. But conscience has limits, as you have seen. Her words struck a chord. Even the most skeptical delegates had to acknowledge the measured tone. No gloating, no triumphant boasting. Earth had, at great cost, proven that it could stand on its own. If humanity remained within the Alliance, it was by choice. That, in itself, was revolutionary. After the ceremony, Zyrkel approached Marissa in a corridor near the embassy wing. His posture radiated uncertainty, his black eyes blinking in a slow pattern. "Ambassador Liu," he said, "I am relieved that bloodshed was averted, at least for now. May I ask a question?" She regarded him quietly. "Of course." He hesitated. "How long did your people plan this?" The illusions, the sabotage detection, the hidden warships. Marissa folded her hands. Decades. Ever since we realized the Alliance intended to contain and possibly exterminate us if we showed too much potential. We had two choices: fight immediately with only partial readiness, or endure their condescension and sabotage while we prepared. We chose the second. And how? Zyrkel said, voice subdued. Did you keep so many secrets for so long? In the Alliance, infiltration is common. Spies, double agents, blackmail. There are so many ways for secrets to leak. She answered quietly. On Earth, we learned from centuries of warfare that the best way to keep a secret is for everyone to share only a fraction of the truth. Even among ourselves, only a handful of top leaders knew the full scope. We also exploited the Alliance's assumptions. They never thought we had advanced quantum comms, so they never looked for them. They never believed we could surpass them technologically, so they never searched for hidden labs. In the end, arrogance is the greatest security flaw. He looked away, troubled. Many of us wanted to believe we were guiding you, not harming you. But clearly, that was not the truth for all. It wasn't all of you, Marissa said softly, but it was enough. Enough to kill hundreds, maybe thousands of my people. Zyrkel lowered his head, offering a quiet gesture of contrition in the manner of his species. Without another word, he turned and left. 2 months later, Kasara was once again a thriving colony, rebuilt through a combined effort of human and allied volunteers. Construction mechs shaped the settlement skeleton, while integrated technologies from Earth and other species expanded the colony's resilience against sabotage. The new systems had triple redundancy, advanced shielding, and sabotage-proof engineering. Meanwhile, on Helios, the illusions were removed, replaced by state-of-the-art infrastructure that dwarfed the Alliance's initial blueprint. Marissa found herself at Kasara one afternoon, walking through the settlement's main plaza with a Terran colonel who had overseen the reconstruction. Alien delegates observed from a safe distance, no longer interfering, but seeking lessons in Earth's terraforming approach. At least now, there was a sense of uneasy respect. The death toll from the sabotage had been too high for any illusions of normalcy. But the tragedy had set the stage for Earth to demand real equality. A few children ran by, wearing environment suits adapted for the still rough atmosphere. Their laughter crackled through the comm system. Seeing them reminded Marissa why all this mattered. Earth had come to the stars to survive and grow, to find new homes for future generations. They had endured countless trials on Earth itself, a world that tried to kill them at every turn. Now, they also had to contend with the political storms of an interstellar alliance once set on stifling them. Ambassador, the colonel said, I'm proud of how far we've come. She nodded. We've paid a price. We can't forget the cost in lives. They passed a memorial statue, a simple monolith engraved with the names of the colonists who died in the sabotage. Flowers, some Terran and some from alien worlds, lay at its base. She paused, bowing her head in silent tribute. In that moment, her secure earpiece chimed. She tapped it and heard Holloway's voice, another sabotage. Network uncovered on Aura 9, but it appears the local authorities discovered it first and dismantled it. They're cooperating now, sending us the suspects. She let out a slow breath. It seems some are indeed choosing a new path. Indeed, there's word the tribunal on Vindar may start soon. You'll be expected to testify. Marissa glanced at the memorial. We'll see it through. When the call ended, she resumed walking, the hush of the environment suit's breather accompanying each step. Overhead, cargo shuttles zipped through Kasara's violet sky. Each day, they delivered more equipment for expansions. The colony's perimeter had grown in just weeks, a testament to how quickly humans could build when not hampered by sabotage or the need for illusions. On Earth, decades of hidden R&D had led to leaps in propulsion, cloaking, energy generation. All that potential could now be put to constructive use, provided the Alliance upheld its pledge. Marissa wondered if the old wounds would ever truly heal. Perhaps not. But if there was any chance for mutual respect, It began with the same straightforward truth. Earth had never been as weak as it seemed. Now, the rest of the galaxy knew it. Back on the Alliance capital station, Zyrkale found himself assigned to a new diplomatic corps responsible for bridging the gap between Earth and the rest of the Alliance. It was an ironic twist for one who had so recently doubted humans. He spent weeks reviewing data, the grand deception orchestrated by Earth, the sabotage conspiracies among certain Alliance factions, the timeline of how each side's illusions escalated. The more he read, the more he realized how precariously close they'd all come to a catastrophic war. On a gray morning according to Earth's timekeeping, Zyrkale accompanied a group of Alliance mediators to a hearing about restitution for those who perished at Kasara. Earth had demanded not just official acknowledgement, but also that the Alliance invest in rebuilding the colony and pay direct compensation to the families. Many within the Alliance balked at paying tribute to humans. But after seeing how swiftly Earth could mobilize the Cerberus fleet, they reluctantly agreed that paying restitution was far cheaper than inciting war. During the hearing, Zyrkale witnessed an ancient tradition from Earth, the concept of impact statements, allowing victims or their kin to speak. A few humans took the stand, describing their loss, describing how they joined the exodus to Kasara for a better life, never suspecting the Alliance would kill them in cold blood. Even some alien observers seemed genuinely moved. For Zyrkale, it was another jarring reminder that many in the Alliance had deemed such tragedies an acceptable cost to maintain control. When the hearing ended, Zyrkale quietly approached Marissa Liu, who had listened to every statement with unwavering composure. He tried to offer a few consoling words, but all he managed was a soft, "I am sorry these things happened." She sighed and turned to him. "I accept your sympathy. I only hope you understand why we took such extreme measures to protect ourselves." He nodded, eyes downcast. "I do. You taught the entire galaxy a lesson." "Yes," she said, "a lesson about underestimating those forged by adversity. We never wanted to teach it this way, but we had no choice." She left with a slow stride, and Zyrkale was left pondering the heavy truth. Earth had shown the Alliance what it meant to come from a world where survival was never guaranteed. Perhaps such a worldview made humans both incredibly dangerous and profoundly protective of life when threatened. He wondered if that duality would now reshape the Alliance for the better. Time passed, and where once there had been sabotage and secret plots, there were now open projects and cautious new alliances. Earth began exporting some of its technology, nothing that would compromise their strategic edge, but enough to demonstrate willingness to help. In turn, various species offered unique specialties to humans. For the first time, real cultural exchange thrived. Nevertheless, the memory of sabotage and the quiet threat of the Cerberus fleet loomed in the background, a deterrent that kept unscrupulous factions at bay. In a newly expanded docking bay on the Alliance capital station, a shining Earth battleship moored beside Alliance cruisers. Crews from both sides mingled, exchanging polite greetings. Holloway personally oversaw an experimental joint military exercise to test combined responses to external threats. If an unknown danger ever attacked, the Alliance needed to be united. Earth's presence in the command structure was no longer questioned. If anything, it was demanded. Marissa Liu observed from an upper observation deck, reflecting that perhaps, ironically, the sabotage that claimed so many innocent lives had jolted the Alliance into a genuine recognition of Earth's rightful place among the stars. The fear, the illusions, the manipulations, none of it had been necessary if they had only accepted humanity as equal from the start. But if the Alliance's pride had forced violence before acceptance, at least now acceptance was on the table. She closed her eyes briefly, recalling the terrified colonists who died far from home. She recalled the countless hours Earth's leaders had spent crafting illusions to buy time. She recalled the fury she felt learning that sabotage had long been part of the Alliance's containment strategy. Not once did Earth's people truly waver in their ultimate goal, to stand among the stars, free from oppression. A faint hum announced Zyrkale's approach. He paused beside her, I wanted to let you know that the tribunal for Vindar begins next week, he said. I understand you will testify. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. Yes, I owe it to the families who lost everything. Then she turned to look at the bay below. After that, the new era begins in earnest. Do you think the Alliance can move beyond its old ways? He inhaled. There's always inertia in large institutions. But we have no choice if we want to avoid repeating the mistakes that nearly caused a galactic conflict. Fear is a powerful motivator, for both good and ill. She nodded. Fear guided the Alliance's sabotage, fear of our potential. Now, perhaps fear of our retribution drives them to accept peace. I only hope trust can grow beyond fear. Zyrkel stared at the Earth battleship's sleek hull. Your species, you call yourselves Deathworlders. I see now that it means you overcame a world bent on killing you. I wonder if the rest of us can learn that kind of resilience without repeating the tragedies that shaped it. She let a half-smile touch her lips. We can teach you some parts, maybe, but I wouldn't wish our path on anyone. We lost so many to storms and plagues, to our own wars. Yet that crucible of hardship gave us the mindset to outlast sabotage and intimidation. Still, it was our choice to wait, to remain diplomatic, even as we prepared for the worst. And that choice, to hold back from war, defines us just as much as our origin on Earth. They fell silent, watching the bustle below. A single phrase from centuries of Terran history came to her mind. Speak softly and carry a big stick. In this new cosmic stage, Earth had spoken softly for decades, feigning weakness to learn from those who would oppress them. Now they had revealed the big stick, ensuring that never again would anyone treat them as pawns. Marissa eventually turned away from the observation window. I need to prepare my statements for the tribunal. Zyrkel, if you ever doubt our sincerity about building a better alliance, talk to the families on Kasara. They will tell you how dear the price of sabotage was. We want no more columns of names etched into stone. Zyrkel lowered his gaze. I will, Ambassador. With that, she left, footsteps echoing in the pristine corridor, carrying the weight of an entire species' history on her shoulders. She wondered if someday the rest of the galaxy would truly comprehend how Earth's so-called death world upbringing had shaped them to be kind when possible, but unstoppable when pushed too far. Perhaps that lesson was clear enough now. When humanity stopped playing nice, the galaxy had to face the real power forged on a planet that never gave its inhabitants an easy path. Earth had finally claimed its place among the stars, not as frightened novices, but as true Deathworlders.